The Tata Sierra is back 34 years after the first generation model was launched, but this second generation has absolutely nothing in common with the OG other than the name, of course. More on that in the driving part of this video. The Sierra has to compete with a crazy number of cars, 10 to be precise. I kid you not, this segment is overcrowded with the Hyundai Creta leading it and the Citroen Aircross X sweeping it. Other rivals include the Kia Seltos, Volkswagen Taycan, Skoda Kushaq, MG Aster, Honda Elevate, Toyota Urban Cruiser Hyryder, Suzuki Grand Vitara, Maruti Victoris, and soon the Renault Duster will join too. And with the Curve having failed to put the sales chart on fire, this Tata Sierra has a lot riding on it. But it has it all on paper to deliver. Like for instance, it's bigger than its rivals in most dimensions. It's not the longest car in the segment, but does have the longest wheelbase and is the widest and tallest car in the segment. Also has the biggest boot in the segment, which at 622 liters is sizable. And the rear seat reclines in 60-40 format to further boost space to 1257 liters. But Tata Motors has put the spare wheel under the boot, which not only is inconvenient to access, but is smaller sized at 215/65/17. Meanwhile, this top-end variant runs on 225/55/19 tires. And I do not like the design of these alloy wheels, but they are the biggest tires in the segment, 19s. I don't like the design of the rear either. It seems like the car was chopped off from here to make sure it's not longer than the Harrier. But the front looks nice with the high-set bonnet, and so does the side with the boxy design of the vehicle. What I do like is how they have tried to make this part look like that of the original Sierra, but this is just color play here, because this car does not have a wraparound glass. It cannot have it because today's safety regulations are more stringent, prohibiting Tata Motors from putting a wraparound glass like the original Sierra. But this panel is only for the design, and that also hampers visibility for rear seat passengers because of this panel right there. I've right now reclined the seat just to demonstrate the problem with that particular panel. Usually when you're driving the car, you want to look for blind spots. What do? You look over your shoulders, and when you do that, it's the panel which is right in your line of sight. Instead of seeing what's outside, you end up looking at the panel. This one actually creates blind spots. Rear seat space is impressive though. There is good knee room, leg room, head room, and under thigh support. And there's a boss mode too. So I can push this seat all the way ahead. But this seat doesn't slide. It doesn't need to because there's no third row here. The floor is flat, which means 3 people can actually sit here comfortably because the center passenger does get a headrest. There's an armrest here with twin cup holders, rear sun blinds, and some storage space here with a regular USB and a 65-watt fast charging USB-C port as well. The same has been replicated at the front too. The dashboard is new. It gets triple screens on the top end model with the instrument cluster being a 10.25-inch unit, while the infotainment and passenger screens are 12.3-inch units each. Opt for one variant lower and you get an AR based head-up display instead of the triple screens. Yes, you only get 2 screens there. And Tata Motors is like, the reason we have done it is so that people don't get distracted with too many screens or too much information, which is a lame excuse. Why can't I have both a triple screen as well as a head-up display? Now let's quickly look at the 3 screens. Starting with the driver screen, it obviously has this welcome with Tata Motors written right there, and ERA, the connected car thing, that name also comes there. It does a full swipe up as well. It has a comprehensive multi-information display. You get a lot of information, but the dials are a bit small for my liking, but you can browse through a ton of information here, which is a nice thing obviously. And you can also project maps here. Yeah, full map view is also available on this particular screen. So here I can change it from 2-dial view to 1-dial view, and then obviously I can also come into the digital view. That's kind of cool. This center screen has plenty of widgets right here, which is actually quite nice because it's easy to use. There's wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto connectivity, there's Amazon Alexa, there's also an AQI monitor, which is not accurate because it says the AQI is 442 right now, which is not really the case because I think there's something wrong with the AQI monitor. It's there in almost all the cars here on test right now. So yeah, it has a PM 2.5 air filter. Sometimes the touch is not responsive, which is a bit of a problem. There's an arcade store here. Obviously you need the internet to access it. You can download apps. Come on, load. It needs a hotspot. The connection is not available. It just keeps rotating like that. And then there is Dolby Demo here because obviously it needs to show it has the Honda thing here. it's quite impressive, honestly. Really very nice. I love the sound system here. The JBL modes, which I was already talking about earlier, the multiple JBL modes as well, so you can have a great experience in this car. There's a cinematic experience, so yeah, that's kind of fantastic how they've stuffed in so many features in this particular screen, and it's actually easy to use. There's mood light, but they are not 64 colors here. They're just like restricted colors, and it seems that the ambient lighting is only there at the front side of the car, and then you have some modes for the ambient lighting as well, like calm, celebration, and also celebration mode is like obviously changes the ambient light color accordingly, but yeah, that's that. And then you have got inbuilt navigation too, which nobody really uses because everybody uses Google Maps. That is more accurate and just better because of customer feedback wherein things get updated. There's a relax mode which lets you see water, and then there's a fire mode as well, which actually plays on both the screens, the passenger screen as well, with some sound too. So that's also quite nice. So there's a lot of thought which has actually gone into this particular screen to make it so good. There's a silent mode, there's voice assistant, video player. You can actually watch movies here, which is actually quite impressive. So yeah, this screen does impress as long as it works fluidly, which is not really the case as far as what I have experienced in other Tata Motors cars. Slick to use, definitely. Then ton of stuff inside this. You can also play games. Yes, where's the game? Let me try and find the game right now. So multiple game options as well, but then I think if you really want to play games, you're better off seated on the passenger side. And it has got 250 voice commands in 6 languages, and you can also open the sunroof using the voice command. Open sunroof. Okay. Now coming to the passenger screen, it's actually quite fluid to use. There are games here, and you can use a controller too. This one is from the PlayStation, and the best thing is not only can you play games here, you have a ton of apps too. You can watch media, you can watch movies here as well. And this car also comes with its own set of wireless headphones, which means that the driver is not distracted. It also has a privacy filter here, so that the driver cannot see what you are seeing, which means it's unlike Mahindra EVs, which don't have a privacy filter. And you have the regular relax mode, sound demo, all those things. Fantastic actually, very impressive as long as it works. Hopefully it should. Tata Motors has loaded the Sierra with a ton of features, including connected DRLs and taillights with welcome and goodbye animations, sequential turn indicators, LED fog lamps with cornering function, rear fog lamps, front and rear parking sensors, but 2 on each side, not 4, automatic headlights, automatic wipers, push button start, wireless charging pad, hidden rear wiper washer like Range Rovers, powered tailgate which opens after a pause. It does have gesture control, puddle lamps on all the doors, flush door handles with light, but the request sensor is only on the driver door, 360-degree parking camera which has good resolution, 12-speaker sound system with Dolby Atmos, and a soundbar on the dashboard, and 13 audio modes. Wow! Six-way powered driver seat with memory and welcome feature, extendable under-thigh support for front seats, ventilated front seats, dual zone climate control AC, express cooling, rear AC vents, electric parking brake which is automatic and disengages once you wear the seat belt, auto hold, drive modes, terrain modes, tire pressure monitoring system, height adjustable front seat belts, extendable 8-way sun visors to block Mahindra fans from looking at you. It also has a mirror and light here, level 2 ADAS with 22 features including a cool blind view monitor, 6 airbags, adjustable rake and reach 4-spoke steering wheel from the curve with illuminated Tata logo, dual tone horn, a massive panoramic sunroof that works with voice commands but starts a bit further behind than it should, thereby extending into the boot. Good if this car was a 7-seater, but not so good for a 2-row car. Isofix child seat mounts, puncture repair kit, optional dual-tone roof, shark fin antenna, leatherette wrapped steering, gear knob and seats, auto-dimming IRVM, and 73 connected car features. It also gets a new key, which is much better than the old one. I didn't like the old one. Whew, that's a lot of features. Some cool bits include a horse on the rear quarter glass and location coordinates of the Sanand plant in the cup holders, which point to where this car is manufactured, and that theme extends to the door pockets as well, which are big. There's an umbrella holder too. The front center armrest slides and there's a small cubby hole under it, while the glove box is decent sized and gets the cooling function. The AC is a chiller too, and right below the AC controls there's some storage space along with 2 cubby holes. quality levels are better than what I've seen in other Tata cars. And although there are hard plastics lower down, they have used soft touch materials on the dashboard, but there are some exposed screws. Other quality issues include the beading coming out of the doors, which is quite surprising for a new car, and the lines, they just do not match. There's no consistency in the production of this car because, I mean, what is this? Lot of ill-fitting panels on this car, and that becomes quite obvious when you look with slight amount of detail. Tata Motors still has a long way to go when it comes to eradicating any sort of panel gaps, because not only on the exterior you find them, but on the interior as well, and that's something which maybe a Hyundai or Kia or any other global brand has nailed it. Tata's yet to figure that out. You're driving the car in the city and all of a sudden, I don't know what happens, the mirrors, they open and close. This is a feature which has actually come from the Pulsar to make you, I mean, what is this? Why is it opening and closing automatically and randomly? Well, to make you go faster and for aerodynamic efficiency, this car has a feature like the 220F, wherein the mirrors automatically shut at speed. Well, it doesn't happen that way. The problem is this part is very flimsy and your knee ends up hitting here, and when it does, you end up closing the mirrors, and this happens so randomly. Fit finish levels could be a lot better because the door line does not merge with the line at the rear, so there's a lot of inconsistency here. The touch controls here have been heavily criticized as they are difficult to use, but Tata Motors continues to turn a deaf ear to it. Instead of putting the fog lamp buttons here, they could have put them here, because anyways there are 4 dummy buttons right here. And the steering wheel is a fingerprint magnet, but thankfully there are proper buttons here and not touch sensitive ones. Another issue is that there's a single switch to operate the sunblind and the sunroof, which means at times when you want to only open the sunblind, you also end up opening the sunroof. Now this is a problem because there's a single switch. Tata Motors actually did it the right way with the Harrier when the Harrier got a sunroof for the very first time, with multiple switches here, one for the sunblind and one for the sunroof, and there was another switch, I don't know for what. Let me know in the comment section below. Can you hear that? The doors have gone crazy. They're locking. Even after the doors have been locked, they keep locking, and I can become a rapper. But what you guys want to know is how is it to drive? So let's give it the beans. Alright, let's start driving by turning on the car, the petrol. Audio turns on automatically. Let's turn off the air conditioning. A bit frustrating to operate this touch control. And there the air conditioning has turned off. Straight away I come into sport drive mode. Yeah, it also has voice commands. The lady will say sport drive mode activated. I come into drive. There's no sport mode here as such. And I'm just going to turn on the camera view here. Our specialist timing gear is ready to see how fast it goes from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. Left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, revving the motor, rev still. Okay, firstly let me come into park and rev it and show you that it revs till 3000 RPM, so soft limiter there. Now we come into drive, left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, rev still 2500 RPM, and off we go. Okay, handbrake, weird. And again we go. Let's see how fast it goes from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. Traction control light blinking, and that is 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in an impressive 10.6 seconds, which is not very impressive actually considering the output of this car, and that is because of the gearbox. The car actually feels nice and fast. It feels peppy, it feels grunty as well. I think I'm going to do another 0 to 100 km per hour acceleration run because I think the road was a bit dusty. It should be sub 10 seconds. I don't know why it took 10.6 seconds. That is slow. So in terms of performance, outright might not be that fast, but it feels fast, especially after you drive the diesel. You're like, wow, this is fast, because it has got 160 horsepower, which comes in at 5000 RPM. Torque output and impressive 255 Newton meters at 1750 RPM till 4000 RPM, which gives it a nice big chunky mid-range punch. Yeah, the mid-range is really nice in this car. I'm actually very impressed by the way this car drives. Okay, we are going to time it again. Left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, auto hold, shut your mouth, and off we go. There you go, 9.89 seconds. Now that is definitely better. So the acceleration is brisk enough. There's turbo lag obviously, but the mid-range is really very nice, and you can hear the turbo sound as well. The engine is super duper refined, has good amount of grunt in the mid-range, but there's no top end. It's upshifting at around 4,500 RPM. This is worse than a diesel redline. Yeah, it doesn't really have a high redline as such, So top end is absolutely useless, but mid-range is fantastic, really pushes you forward and feels very grunty in terms of the performance. So I really like the mid-range punch of this car, really very nice, supremely impressive. Performance is actually very nice. You will definitely like this engine for the performance, but you're going to hate it for the efficiency because it is under half tank. Half tank is not even reached. It says 143 kilometers distance to empty, which means it's returning single digit numbers. And what single digits? If I tell you, you're going to faint. 6 to 7 kilometers per liter. Heavy car, big engine, not big. 1.5 liters is not a big engine as such. Now this is the turbo GDI, which obviously feels really nice to drive. The performance is something which is really impressive here. I like it. I never knew I would say this for a Tata Motor petrol engine, but this petrol engine really is phenomenal in terms of the mid-range performance. And then over bad roads, not a problem at all. Okay, the ride is not the best because this is obviously running on 19-inch wheels, and 19-inch wheels obviously hamper. What does it hamper? We're going to try a 0 to 100 km per hour acceleration test in the other direction now. So it definitely hampers the ride. Big wheels, 19 inches. Left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, and off we go. Come on! The engine is really smooth. Look at the red line. It's upshifting at 4,700 RPM. So under 5,000 RPM is where it shifts, and 0 to 100 km per hour in 9.7 seconds. So somewhere around 9.6, 9.7 seconds is the ideal time you are going to get in terms of acceleration from 0 to 100 km per hour, which is quite good considering the weight of this car. Yeah, this is obviously bigger than say the Seltos and the Creta, which also have a 1.5 liter turbo petrol engine with similar output. But here you only get an automatic. It's a 6-speed as-in-sourced automatic gearbox, a torque converter. It's smooth with shifts. There's no denying the fact, but it's not very fast or eager as such. You have got paddle shifters if you want to make your own shifts. And when you come around the corner, well, there is roll, there is body roll. Obviously, it's a tall car. It's the tallest in the segment. So there is considerable amount of body roll, but the handling is actually quite nice. The steering weighs up decently well at high speeds. And there is some slack in the center ahead position. But let's just see if it pulls to the left. An inherent issue with most of the Tata Motors cars. No, it is not pulling to the left or anything. It is actually fine there. You know what? Lane key assist is pulling the car back into lane, so that also works fine. So fantastic engine, this petrol engine, long awaited petrol engine from Tata Motors, but no efficiency here. It's not efficient, which is a problem with all turbo petrol engines, because the more you rev it, the more it rewards you, and the more it doesn't reward your wallet by drinking a lot of fuel. Over these bad roads, you can feel that it feels really rugged and robust, but you can feel the movement. It has frequency dependent damping, but 19-inch wheels, low profile tires, not really helping here. However, if you get a lower variant with 18-inch wheels or 17-inch wheels, higher profile tires, that will definitely ride better. But overall, ride and handling balance is good, something Tata Motors has always been doing really well in its cars. And in terms of the performance and all, I'm not really going to complain, because I think the petrol does a good job, and efficiency is something which is obviously not great. But then that is an issue with all turbo petrol engine cars. So you all wanted a turbo petrol, here it is. Now don't complain about fuel efficiency. It has a 50-liter fuel tank here, which is actually small for the diet this car has. I mean, the drinking habit is there, so it needs a bigger fuel tank for sure. And it's quite easy to drive. Steering is light at low speeds, weighs up decently well at high speeds, and then taking a U-turn and all is actually quite effortless. Look at this. I'm trying to take a U-turn without taking a reverse. Is it possible? Very much, because you don't really care about bad roads and bumps. You drive over them. You glide over them. Okay, there are just way too many bumps on our roads, so that becomes a slight issue as well. Because I'm going to test the ride quality and realize that post-monsoon, all the roads are broken only. So all cars have been taking a big beating as well. So this is a new platform. Okay, they call it Argos or something of that sort. All-terrain ready, geometries. It's so complicated. I don't know how to actually tell you what the platform is, but it is ready for all-wheel drive. And it's a front-wheel drive platform, obviously. So like I was telling you in the start of the video, I'm going to tell you in the driving part what's the issue here with the car. The thing is, they had a great opportunity of bringing the Sierra back as a body on frame with rear wheel drive and 4-wheel drive to compete with the Mahindra Thar. Instead, Tata Motors is like, no, let's play the safe route, get a monocoque front wheel drive car. Why? You know what? The Sierra has been known to be tough. This car isn't as tough as a ladder frame. A ladder frame is obviously tough. Now, a ladder frame will obviously not give you the kind of ride you get with a monocoque, and I think that is one of the major reasons, and cost benefits as well, because now they're going to share the platform amongst other cars in their portfolio. So that's certainly something which is going to help them. Why is the camera turning off? I want to keep it on. Just keep the camera on. No. The camera is not... No, it's not turning on. So there's no driver rear view monitor. This AQI display now is very weird. It's not very accurate as such. because on my phone I'm seeing much lower AQI. Here I'm seeing much higher AQI, so the car is trying to trick you to just go home and not drive. So that's a way of fuel saving. Obviously lane departure warning coming there. Let's just use the wipers. Good ones. Delayed wiper swipe as well. I love the dual tone horn, but I hate these fingerprints. There's a lot of fingerprints which come onto this particular panel, which is a bit of an issue. Seamless performance. It's a nice linear pull, but just no top end grunt only. And the engine is so refined, it's unbelievably refined and smooth. Even in the top end, it doesn't get very noisy as such. Road noise is also very well contained, in spite of the fact that this is obviously a very boxy design here. Still, road noise is very well contained in this car. So I firmly believe that this big bump is going to shake the car. No, it doesn't really shake the car. So ride is very impressive. So Tata Motors always nails the ride, handling, steering feel and all those things in its cars, which is something I am noticing in this Sierra as well. It's obviously new platform, lot of new things here. Good to drive, fun to drive, good view of what's around you, but this A-pillar is a bit big, so that obviously causes some amount of blind spots. And yeah, the suspension can get a bit noisy, but it does a good job. It doesn't rattle you in spite of the huge bumps that I'm encountering. I can just go over them, glide through them, and the car just goes. No problem there at all. So yes, very nice to drive car, petrol, but diesel is a diesel for the efficiency reasons. First time I'm going to recommend a petrol and not a diesel, because 118 horsepower and 160 horsepower, there's a huge difference. But we need a manual here. A manual here would be so damn freaking amazing, because then you could really do wheel spins and enjoy driving. But you can't really do that here because the automatic is like in a mind of its own. No sport mode for the gearbox as such. In sport mode now, in the drive sport mode, you can feel the difference. There's a big difference. The performance definitely feels more eager. In city mode, obviously it's dulled down, which actually brings me to the engine most people are going to opt for, which is a 1.5 liter NA engine, naturally aspirated, no turbo, just 106 horsepower, which is sort of the least powerful in the segment, but still I'm sure it will be better in terms of performance when compared to, say, the Victoris without the hybrid system, because Victoris and the Grand Vitara and the Urban Cruiser Hyryder and all those things have the most lackluster engine in the history of engines in that particular segment. Anyways, 1.5 liter NA engine produces 106 horsepower and 145 Newton meters of torque. So not great in terms of performance, but you get a 6-speed, you get a manual gearbox, 6-speed manual, and a 7-speed dual clutch. Why do you need a dual clutch with an NA engine which doesn't have any performance? And that dual clutch, I don't know how it behaves, but at least in other Tata cars which have the dual clutch, it kind of behaves like an AMT, or probably worse than that. So I hope they've tuned it well, and I think the machine learning bit has learned finally something or the other. Look, this Bolero is struggling, but no problem here. Sierra just goes. So fantastic ride. I just wish they should have offered all-wheel drive from the start. Actually, a ladder frame would have been so amazing. Which also brings me to another thing which I am really pissed about, is the Tata Motors copying the freaking Broncos ad. Why do they need to do that? Big bump, no problem, I just go. Yeah, I just glide through that. I don't understand why they copied the Bronco ad when Tata Motors actually set benchmarks for what an ad should be. Remember the Tata Safari ad? I always wanted to quit on Monday morning.
I always wanted to quit on Monday morning.
Yeah, that was so legendary. So there's no reason to copy someone's ad when Tata Motors is known to make some iconic ads. But I don't know, they just want to copy Ford. And then if you're copying Ford, then copy them properly now, because the Bronco is a ladder frame SUV and they have a Bronco Sport. They also have a monocoque Bronco for city use. So they give you both the options, which is actually quite amazing. Get onto the throttle, the response is immediate. It does not hesitate at all, which is the best part of this engine. I was not expecting this engine to be this damn good, but it really impresses by being so nice to drive. The engine being punchy, performance being good, and overall grunt being supremely impressive. Now let's do the brake test at 100 kilometers per hour. I step on the brakes. Some tire noise, obviously. But it stops, and it stops with a lot of reassurance, and off we go. Yeah, brakes are actually quite nice here. Surprise, surprise. Okay, there's some nosedive here, but I'm very impressed by the driving feel of this car. I'm very impressed by the engine, the ride, the handling, the brakes, almost everything. 9.7 seconds to go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. So it's consistently performing there, which means that the engine is good. I hope it's well tested. There are no issues which crop up over time, and I like the ride of this car. I like the driving feel, and it attracts a crazy amount of attention. People turn around, they're following the car, they're like, dikhao mujhe kya hai ye gaadi. So now the steering is like a little turned right. Yeah, the alignment is gone in just a few bumps, which should not be the case. That's a bit weird. And then because I was not holding the steering, the car is reminding me, hold the steering wheel. But yeah, the alignment is gone quite soon. It was not the case, just a few bumps and the alignment is gone. So I think they need to have more robust suspension and everything so that such things don't crop up, because now the car, when I am in the center position, is obviously going to start drifting left. There you go. People message me saying just check if the car drifts left like other Tata cars. Yes, it does, unfortunately. Now let's try and validate this by getting into another Sierra, which is obviously going to be the diesel, which is not impressive because that bump, because the diesel is obviously stiffer when compared to the petrol, firstly, and secondly, doesn't have the grunt. Yeah, this is the Cryojet, which is the 1.5 litre engine which also powers the Nexon, and honestly this being a bigger car needs more grunt because just 118 horsepower, which isn't much, and the torque output is 260 Newton meters in the manual, which is a 6-speed manual, or in the 6-speed automatic, the torque converter unit, we actually managed to get 280 Newton meters of torque, 20 Newton meters more to cope up with the slow gearbox. The gearbox is not fast shifting, and the paddle shifters are kind of useless because they don't really respond as such. So that's also disappointing. Look, I'm trying to downshift. It's still in third. It's so freaking slow. The command goes all the way to Sanand, where this car is actually made. And they were even written it under the front center armrest, the same thing. Okay, we're going to reset it. It's the moment of truth. First things first, we come into sport mode. Aja bhai. Why doesn't things work at first go? Left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, revving the motor, rev still almost 2000 RPM, and off we go. Performance is not great, especially after you drive the petrol. You're like, why is this car not moving? It's very sluggish in comparison. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour takes 13.4 seconds, which is quite slow. But then the competition also offers something similar, only 1.5 litre diesel engines with around 115-120 horsepower, and the torque output, which is also, I'm kind of disappointed, honestly. Yeah, the torque is better here, but the weight is also better. Turbo lag there, but well contained sort of, because obviously small engine, mid-range is decent, top end is not there only, and the engine is actually quite noisy. Yeah, you can hear a lot inside the cabin, so the motor is definitely quite noisy. The 2-litre diesel engine should have been there in this car, which would have given it absolutely amazing performance, but then the cost would also go quite a lot up, and that's the reason Tata Motors is like, no, yeah, take Chintu Mintu engine and make do with it, because yeah, you will be disappointed with the performance of the diesel. Usually I'm like, diesel torque makes up for it, but no, not here. At least this is more efficient, much more efficient when compared to the petrol. So that's a good thing, but I can't really say today a diesel is a diesel because the diesel performance just not impressive enough, and because the diesel is heavier, suspension is stiffer, and you could hear the bumps as well. So the ride is also not as good as the petrol. In fact, overall ride, like, it's quite impressive, but not the most impressive as far as Tata cars go, because other Tata cars are just so much better in terms of ride quality. This one is better when compared to the segment. However, when you compare it to other Tata cars, not the best because of the big 19-inch wheels, obviously hampering the ride quality, with lower profile tires, 55 profile tires on an SUV. Who would have thought about that? But overall, I would say that diesel is the one to buy in manual, because you can get great efficiency here. The gearbox is so slow shifting now. It takes its own sweet time to make shifts, and a little bit of wheel spin as well. Steering centers very fast, but not a very impressive diesel engine. In fact, when I give an indicator, it shows it here on this screen, the blind view monitor, not on this screen. I don't know why this bhedbhav. In some cars it's here, petrol mate is on this screen, diesel mate is on this screen. I don't know what is the logic behind it. There might be some logic, I don't know, but that's how it is. And the wiper now, the position has moved a bit up. I don't know why. Let me just try to center it again. No, it doesn't go down all the way. It is like a little bit up. So that's another problem with Tata Motors. Consistency in quality, something I've been saying time and again, not really there. Otherwise, the car is very, very, very impressive as far as the drivability goes. The diesel is definitely drivable. I just wish that there was more punch. 118 horsepower for a heavy car like this doesn't really work here. Yeah, the Creta and the Seltos have lower power and lower torque and all that, but they are also much, much lighter. That car is so damn freaking light. Here, weight, because of safety and all those things, obviously hinders the power to weight ratio of this car, and that kind of shows in the way this car performs. It's not very spirited. It kind of struggles, and then you don't really have manual control of things. Tata is like, no eco drive mode. This is a Sierra. We don't believe in efficiency. Trying to be Mahindra now. Braking performance is good here. Obviously, ride quality is on the stiffer side. Handling is actually better because of the stiff suspension. But the thing is, there is body roll because of the weight and the height and all those things. Frequency dependent damping here not really working its magic as such. The petrol just feels so much better, but this will be way more efficient than the petrol. This should return around 14 to 15 kilometers per liter of fuel efficiency, which is honestly quite impressive, because when you're buying a car around the Creta price, you want efficiency because the Creta is so damn efficient in diesel. Not in petrol. Nobody's efficient in petrol. That's the reason I hate petrol engines. But more than me, Nitin Gadkari hates petrol engines. That's why he's putting alcohol in your petrol fuel, and that's also causing problems. But anyways, jokes aside, and that was not even a freaking joke. This diesel, it doesn't really impress. It just does not impress. And you know, the ride quality, which you can feel, becomes even worse when you come across such roads, because now you can feel a lot inside the cabin. Especially that third and all is happening quite a lot more in the diesel because of the stiffness, and that's something you have to contend with. But then the better efficiency is something you would appreciate. Mid-range punch is not as strong as that of the petrol. The petrol just feels so much better. I never thought I would say this about a Tata Motors petrol engine, but yeah, how times are changing. Only thing is, this engine is sort of proven because it's been doing duty in the next one since donkey's years. Meanwhile, the petrol engine is new, so obviously wait before you buy is what I would say. Turning radius isn't bad at all, and the steering centers beautifully as well. Kind of feels rugged, at least when compared to other cars in the segment. Definitely feels much more rugged, more SUV. Although front wheel drive cars are not SUVs, they're just chucked up hatchbacks. They should have used the Harrier's diesel engine, maybe detuned it a bit, but using the Nexons just does not make a strong case, especially when the petrol is so damn freaking powerful. 160 horsepower in the petrol, 118 horsepower in the diesel. The maths is not mathing. Let's time it again. Left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, and off we go. At least I'm seeing distance to empty of 462 kilometers on almost a full tank, and I've been driving this car, or this car has been driven since morning, yet that's the efficiency. Meanwhile, the petrol is showing like 200 kilometers on full tank, which is really bad. It's 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 13.3 seconds. So yeah, this is a 13-second plus car when it comes to 0 to 100 kilometers per hour acceleration. That's slow. That's not slow. That's very, very, very slow, especially when you have that fire-breathing petrol of an engine, which obviously feels so damn freaking awesome. And the response from the paddle shifters are like so damn slow. The gearbox is also very easy going. I mean, it's smooth, but the problem is that the engine itself is so coarse, loud, and unrefined, sort of like you can hear the diesel grunt all the time, that you question that what is this powertrain? Why isn't it so good in spite of the fact that it's been used since such a long time in other Tata cars? It's just proven, but doesn't mean that proven is good. Just doesn't feel the right powertrain for the Sierra, unfortunately. The Tata Sierra is an impressive package. Yes, the diesel engine should have had more grunt, but the petrol engine gets the job done, but at the cost of efficiency, of course. All-wheel drive is missed here, but Tata Motors claims that it will be offered later. I don't trust them because they said the exact same thing about the Hexa when they showcased the BS6 Hexa Safari Edition at the 2020 Auto Expo. It never came. Tata Motors is offering a 3 years, 1 lakh kilometer warranty on the Sierra, which as an overall package is hugely impressive. It's the most feature-loaded car in the segment, but a long-time issue with Tata cars has been the reliability and the service experience. It's far from the best. Thus, I wouldn't recommend you buy this car right away. Instead, shortlist it, wait for the initial batches to get on the road, get an ownership experience, see if it's reliable, doesn't have any quality issues, and if it turns out alright, then is the time to buy this car. So right now, just wait and watch. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, that's the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Bye-bye.